everything that we have been complaining about as a collective. I'm going to read a few things. The first thing is we is barely making it. We're barely surviving out here. We barely making it. Burnt out from 9-to-5 jobs. We are all extra confirmation. We are scared to take a risk. We have a lack in faith. We don't have enough time. We are distracted. People who are entrepreneurs are going back to their jobs. It's just a lot of things going on in regards to career and money. I was too going through the same thing, but I figured out a solution, not just for myself, but kindly for everybody. First thing is we need to gain a connection with God. Now, for myself, it was confusing to attach a person to be God when I know all of this other stuff. So I tested the theory of the Bible and spiritual laws, the principles of life, and they are equal. So boom, I don't have to attach a person to God. I know that God is the most high. God created everything. We are all images and expressions of God. Then I understood, boom, who I am and what my purpose was. What do I like to do? I understood. I always got one of these on me. I'm a writer. Boom, figured it out. How can I make a business out of this? Boom, answered that question too. Your life reflects your business. You not happy in life? You ready to start a business? You need to get aligned in here. I wrote a book about it, but I'm shocked every day at life because I finally cracked the code to understanding the purpose of life. You need help? You want to see the truth of what it is? Get at me. We have literally been programmed to think things that are not true. There is no such thing as good and bad, because if God is if God is everything, God created everything, every person. No such thing as good and bad. There's a such thing as a good idea and a greater idea, because any choice that you make, you're going to think it's a good idea, but there's always a greater idea. Bro, you're attaching God to be a person. That is not true. God is not a person. Look up who God is. Probably sounds so dumb to somebody, but growing up in a Christian household, I was so confused on who is God and who is Jesus. Is they the same people? I was so confused. So no surprise to me that I went to go search for who God was on my own. And it's not until it made sense. But the thing, I always knew how to pray. That's what saved me. I always knew how to talk to God, but I didn't know who the hell God was. Who was God? Look up right now. Who is God? There's no picture of God because God is not a person. We need to stop attaching God to be a person. And I don't know who told me God was a person, but shame on you, whoever told me God was a person, because God is all things and God created everyone. Jesus is God. Religion is a thing to get you closer to God. Religion is I'm sorry, I can't be religious because it doesn't make sense. Those are stories that tell me about who God is. God is an image of all of us. And through those stories, God tells us what God can do. Teaches us the principles of life. And that's why we're so lost. Let me say this and then let me be done. When you understand who God really is and not attached to a person, what God looked like, what God smelled like, with who God really is and how to communicate with God, that is only then where you'll be able to communicate with God to starting your business. Stepping into the power to serve others, the way that God created you to express how you can serve others through your story, through your testimony, through your challenges, through your circumstances. That is why people are going from entrepreneur to back to 9 to 5. You don't know how to express yourself properly to the point where you can connect. You have a communication issue. You don't know how to connect to your audience, because if you did, you would be asking them the right questions, asking them what they need and how can you make your business better. You wouldn't be going back to 9 to 5s. If you ain't started a business, you don't know how to start a business, you don't know where to start, you're just so lost, you need to go back to figuring out, you need to go back to square one. You need to get aligned with yourself. You need to get aligned with God, period. That's why we are on this internet complaining. Not me no more. I'm happy. I love life. It doesn't matter how tough you think you are. It doesn't matter how much of an it girl you think you are. It doesn't matter how aesthetically pleasing you think you look. How much money you got. If you're not serving your purpose is to serve God, you will always feel unfulfilled. You will always feel empty. You will always feel like you don't have something, because what you lack is to feel like you in the inside. You lack communication with God. It doesn't matter. So confused on who God is that y'all don't have any type of relationship. I always knew to pray. I always knew to ask God to guide me. Even if I'm trying to attach a face or a picture to God, I always knew that there is a God. I knew that. And so I let that lead me. When I stop attaching human-like things to God. Oh, I wonder what God's face looks like. Little things, and just really understood that God is all things. We are all expressions of God. Learn how to express yourself. And that's who you will understand who God is. Learn how to express yourself. I'm willing to help people reprogram their minds, but they have to want it. But listen, y'all gotta get right.